Hi all, Randy Green here. A very short podcast, or a little update is probably more accurate. It is today, November 17th, and I am, after the big, what could you call it, peak in the beginning of the month, beginning to settle and reorienting what to do now, how to do, and what are the good advices as the world continue its processes towards more and more division and segregation, because there's no doubt that that's where we're going. And that's the early signs of the 2-8 pillar, plus a repeat of some old 100-year cycles. And that means you need to understand history. Of course, nothing ever plays out exactly the same way, because there are different souls 100 years later. Some of them are the same, still trying their old shenanigans, whereas others are new, and thus it gives a different feel to it. But when we look at the bigger, large-scale dynamics, whatever culture, whatever time, it is more or less the same play out. So the great dynamics, segregation and division. And that's part of the ongoing process between the opposition, you understand here by fourth dimension, and the polarity, and you understand fifth dimension, that are in motion, and the factions are changing to play out the next step of the 100-year cycles that we are unfolding. And here I really recommend go 100 years back in time and see what's going on. Not to compare it, because it's a different lineage that play out there. Their windows of opportunity now to complete their cycles. But the three main lineages that we've been dealing with, they are more or less the same. Does this mean that we get into a third something I'm not mentioning here by name that are similar to what happened to the first and the second? No, that is technically not how it's going to play out. Not as far as I know, but everything can change. But I don't see that happening. Nobody will win from that. Let's just put it that way. Years ago, 100 years ago, in 1914 to 1918, there was development of specific type of weaponry, the use of technology that were implemented there. Then we had the second that all unfolded from, let's just say 1935 until 1945. And again, here we had the whole rocket era that came into play. And then we had in the 50s, there we had the uranium and the understanding of fusion and fission and how to work with the atomic material in matter. So what could it do? Could it be divided? Could it be, what are the kinetic processes, etc., etc.? So that's been played out already. So if we are to say there is something that's going on, and there are voices out there that are saying that, well, there is no doubt that if we are to go into anything that will have the purpose of integrating some type of technology, integrating some type of new machinery, then it would be the fourth. That's my opinion. And secondly, it would, of course, be to implement the reverse engineer technology. But that can be done in many different ways. Technically, they don't need that disastrous outcome, because there are many other ways that can happen today. They got the crisscrossing in the sky. They have got, seriously, they have got everything on to such a degree, and I'm saying the extraterrestrial factions, that is just not necessary. The planet would be damaged by any outcome of that, and they're not interested in that. There are many other ways it can be done. So, and they have shown me this. So this is, you could also say that's interception and that's manipulation, as I always say. But it give or take, that's not what's in the cards. So put that away. But there is a terraforming and there is a transition, and we are in the completion cycle of different groups that are doing what they need to do so they can exit, and then new groups will come in, and that will be the great change of humanity and the way we perceive reality. So that's in the making. And you can say that's an Earth changing event similar to first, second, and third, because the third one, in my opinion, happened in the 1950s. Okay, so for me, that has already happened. I have memory of an alternate timeline where it took place, whether or not it took place inside this one and we were all recalibrated and reseated, or it took part in an alternate one to play it out so no longer needed to be played out in here, or it was simulation so it didn't need to come into play. I don't know. I've already seen it. Nobody will win from that. And I grew up with the fear of that in the 1970s and in the 1980s. And for me, if at any point in human history that should have happened, it would have happened back then. But it was negotiated out and there were different agreements. There are probably some that will try and play out and play with their muscles. But we also know that the ones that are quote unquote overseeing our planet, they will make sure that whatever happens will not damage whatever is going on. Okay. So, and when I say whatever is going on, I mean the resources of the planet, the natural environment of the planet, the radiation energetic foundation of the planet, because it's not in the interest of the groups that are here now. They have other interest. And with that understanding, with the 2-8 pillar, we can say, okay, what is the proper approach for us to go in and say what would be the understanding? First and foremost, very important to keep an emotional balance, because the 2-8 pillar has a lot of things in it that for many people can feel anxiety and fear-provoking as well as disturbing. So for those of us who have eyes to see with and ears to hear with and have the sight in check, we have been prepared for whatever that might be. And it's not funny and it's not fun. It's not in any ways or forms something we're looking forward to, not at all. But we have got what we could call a more harmonized tendencies to learn how to bounce back. And with everything in life, it's about how do you bounce back. It's about resilience. It's about coping. It's about what are the methods you use to cope with what you're experiencing. How do you bounce back from whatever you have experienced? How do you deal with certain things that can feel traumatizing when we are under pressure for a longer period of time and in that situation feel that we are disempowered and cannot protect ourselves and cannot do fight or flight? Well, then that leads to this being painted up in a corner that are the but it's the foundation for trauma. And that is, of course, a key element in those of us who have been under this severe training. We are not particularly out there physically in reality, but our inner world has been part of a training program that has led us to understand the forces of our planet and what is going on, whether it has been real, artificial, or simulation, or part of an agenda to wear us out, or part of an agenda to prepare us, or part of an agenda as a training. It doesn't really matter, because these things are not meant for the human psyche. Let us just put it that way. So, as I've said many, many times, the last 10 years for me has been, I always just end up saying, it's amazing I'm still around. But that's because of the coping mechanisms I have developed. That's because of the healing mechanisms I have developed. That's because of the way that I go around it afterwards and the effort I put into to arrange myself in a manner so I can heal, so I can take the time. And it is difficult. There's nothing simple and easy about these ups and downs. And when it hit me, it takes me a while. And the aftermath, as the trauma wears out and the effects wears out and I'm healing myself, I'm super vulnerable. It's easy to bounce me back. There are a lot of triggers and all of these things that comes from these training programs that the ones that are put us through are literally not, they don't care about it as we see it with human soldiers that are sent here and there. It's kind of, yeah, you volunteered. And here I can say I did not volunteer in any reality. Anyway, so you were drafted. Yeah, I did not consent to that whatsoever. But that's some of the things that are going on our planet as well, which has not been addressed yet. We're barely ready to accept the fact that there has been the pull-ins. There are still a ridicule amongst the major group of whoever's in this field that are doubting that there actually was physical abductions. The majority has happened by the holographic energetic pull-in, which they are even less ready to, because the interdimensional aspect of the alien agenda has not yet been investigated. So that's the next big step, that we need to recognize the multidimensional aspect of our reality. Okay, with that said, what is then the counter in this situation that we can begin to put in? And for me, it's just going to be a short one, this one. So I'm just going to line it up, because more work will follow, whatever that means, or no work at all, because I'm still contemplating this is the time where I need to retire, right? Because we're getting to the 2.8 pillar, the whole academy course materials out there. I've given everything that I could of information that is necessary to connect the dots and figure out what's going on, both in the Whole Future Humanities YouTube channel, in the High Awareness YouTube channel, here on the Hope channel, as well as on my Whole Academy website. So literally, I put in booklets, in everything that I can think of, I produce the material. So I could retire if I feel the need to do so. So I'm still contemplating if now is the time, because of the toll that this work has on us that have an insight in what's really going on. Okay, so with that said, for those of us who are now in the understanding that the next 9 years are probably going to be interesting, in whatever ways that is, either it will open up to the extraterrestrial agenda. That's the plan from the different extraterrestrials that are still here. They're pushing for that. And then we have the counter forces as part of the 2.8 pillar and what they want to achieve. And it's not in their interest that we get the knowledge of the extraterrestrial agenda, because they need to still work in the shadows, so to speak. So my best guess is that what we have seen of some of the pushes towards what we could call a controlled disclosure in the US will probably be pushed back quite severely with the next 4 years. That would be my best guess, unless something else pops up. But whatever then will pop up will still be controlled by the ones that choose to do so. So that's also important. And if we are looking into the cards of that, the majority of the ones that are now going into power, they are what we call founded in a religious understanding of things. I cannot see how they are going to support a full opening, other than what is that of interest for the one in power to give a better image. So we will say it's a branded, controlled release of certain levels of information that will make a certain person look good and make a certain person look as if that person has lived up to its promises. So that's a very weird way of saying things, but that's because I don't want to mention names, I don't want to give gender, I don't want to do anything other than just saying that that's how it is. As far as I am concerned, not that is how it is, but as far as I am concerned, this is how I see it right now, and that can change because it's just an opinion, okay? There is no bigger I got the truth aspect of this one. Nobody does. It's always a process. Nobody really has the quote-unquote truth. It's a process of understanding of reality, belief systems, and our own individual processes as we grow and mature in whatever's unfolding around us in the environment. For me, the simplest solution here, and simple is the key word here also in our everyday life. If I had gone to work and had a normal life, so to speak, as part of the base program, I wouldn't been able to do what I've done. So for me, it's simple to really get into the multidimensional aspect of reality. Of course, we need to know how to live everyday life inside the base program, and that's still, how do we do that? But for now, I can go to our home and the work that I have got no solution for yet. But the way we conduct ourselves in our everyday life, aside from work, when we talk about family, when we talk about ourselves, we talk about our home, we talk about our surroundings, the way we live everyday life, that for me, the solution there is to go into simple, minimalistic lifestyle. And that is a counter to the materialism and greed factions that are now here, because they're going to pump up a lot of anxiety around lack. And if we live in a way where we can deal with whatever comes our way and find solutions to whatever comes our way and have less need for anything, then the technology that probably will pump into whatever overarching program that are running now will not affect us to the same degree. If we create a lifestyle where we get less stressed, if we create a lifestyle where we can find solace in simplicity and calm everyday living, where we can do a little bit every day so we feel we have done the best of the day, and we have the foundational trust in that we can handle whatever comes, that we have learned so far that this is reality and we can deal with it. We have learned to be in harmony with whatever is, and when we are getting into disharmony, we do take the time to get back into harmony. We know how to balance ourselves when we get unbalanced. We know how to calm ourselves when we get upset, etc., etc. We know to clear our field when we get imprinted by things that we don't want there. We are observant of the energetic changes in our environment, and we constantly transform into the balance point. That's the foundation that will bring us through in the base program of the 2-8 pillar. And with that, I will end this one. There is much, much more to be said here, but I think that will suffice for now as a little bit of a beginning to contemplate upon. How can you arrange yourself in a manner that brings calm to everyday life? And when you get not calm, how can you calm yourself? Bring balance to your life. When you get unbalanced, how do you learn how to balance yourself? What does that mean? What is necessary? When you get pushed into energetic forces that are dragging you around by your nose, so to speak, or impacting you in unfortunate ways, how do you heal? How do you self-repair? How do you maintain your energy system? And how do you arrange yourself in your everyday life? I've said this many times, so that you can deal with these challenges. For me, that's the basic step of the next 9 years. We need to learn to do that to be able to get through. And life is challenging, and life is ups and downs, and life is not happiness, as we know. There are moments of joy, but there are definitely also moments of challenge. And we should be balanced in each of these situations, to not open up for some of the forces that are now present on our planet. And when I say that the materialism and the greed factions are here, that means that they are tied into entities that are eager and willing to jump if they can. It's a different type of energetic entities compared to what we had the last 9 years. That's also a realization that we must come to, that as the different factions comes in, our planetary network changes. That opens to other doors of our multidimensional reality, and that opens up to aspects of these multidimensional realms that brings in, as it has done over the course of history, different type of energetic challenges, energetic parasites, and energetic elementals, and energetic entities. And that's part of the distortion fields that our planet is so severely soaked in. And that's also part of our everyday work, to learn how to deal with this. Similarly, as if the whole world was cleaned up in a go, then we would open up into more positive levels of our reality field, into more conducive levels of our reality with different types of energetic entities, the devas, for instance, that were once our helpers that have now been pushed away because humanity chose to go in a different direction. And then there's the counter of the devas that kind of comes in and assist in on the astral plane. And and when I say assist, well, that's not how I see it, but that's how these entities see it, because it's all about humanity in the middle of all of this around us that we have not taken care of, and we have not been transforming for 15,000 years. So there's a lot of work that needs to be done. And in all of that, how do we navigate through this? What are our coping mechanisms? Which coping mechanisms works and makes us more resilient? which does not, which kind of defense mechanisms make us more resilient, which doesn't, which type of narrative makes us more resilient, which doesn't, and onward and so forth. So that's contemplation, meditation work, self-observation, mindfulness, energetic awareness, emotional awareness, as well as energetic awareness from our surroundings, learning as we go along how to deal with whatever comes our way. So with this little recording, I will end this one now, and whatever will come, we'll figure it out, because we have gone so far, and we will continue, and we will learn how to do this if we are willing to learn and willing to investigate and have the trust and the belief that we can. If we want to, we can. So whatever comes our way, eventually we will learn it if we want to learn it. If we turn the blind eye, of course we won't. I'm not saying we are to embrace it, because some things we shouldn't invite in. But other things that are in our face and in our field, we have to deal with. We have to learn how to transform it. That's my experience. It doesn't go away just because we ignore it. Things have a tendency to get worse if we ignore it. That's my opinion. That's my experience. Others might say the opposite, that turning the other cheek is a better possibility. And again, remember, we're different. We come from different groups and different lineages and different methods. So at the end of the day, which method works best for you? Which method gives you most resilience? Which method makes you more balanced? And which method makes you get through every day in a manner where you can go to bed every night, wake up every morning, and still feel that whatever happens, you can always find your core, you can always find your calm, and you can always find your balance, however long it takes. Because sometimes we get hit really hard, and then we get pushed really, really out to an extreme, and then it takes time to crawl back into the balance point. But we can, and we know we can, and in that we can find comfort. Thank you.